said there's a party tonight. You wanna come with me? She said, baby, I'll try. I waited all night long for her to walk in, for her to bring me her light. Then she came in the room. She was the feel like grooving all night.
So good.
Hello, I am Groot. Back to work. Back to work. Back to work.
Yow. Dude, I need a reaction regarding this muscle sense film. Can you help me do it? Sure, dude.
There are three types of muscle, each with a different structure and function. Skeletal muscle produces the most powerful contractions and is essentially involved in performing the body's movements. Skeletal muscle is under conscious control and is therefore described as voluntary. It is composed of cells elongated up to 12 inches in length, containing many minute myofibrils and nuclei. It can contract and relax rapidly, but is easily fatigued. Smooth muscle is found in the arteries and in the digestive and urinary tracts and performs the slow, long-term contractions needed to maintain these systems. Smooth muscle is made up of elongated cells arranged in bundles, each with a single nucleus. Within the intestines, an inner circular band produces ring-like constrictions and an outer longitudinal band produces wave-like motions. Controlled by the autonomic system, smooth muscle contraction is involuntary. Cardiac muscle, found exclusively in the heart, continuously generates very strong contractions and rarely tires in its task of pumping blood throughout the body. It has a built-in rhythm of contraction, but is regulated by the heart's pacemaker. Cardiac muscle forming the heart is made up of branched cells containing many nuclei. It occurs as thick spiral bands around the ventricles of the heart.
To activate skeletal muscle, the central nervous system initiates an action potential that travels down the spinal cord to the motor neurons. As the nerve fiber branches, the action potential travels down each branch. Each nerve fiber branches many times and stimulates several skeletal muscle fibers. The union of the axon and muscle fiber is called the neuromuscular junction. Zooming into the microscopic level, each branch of the neuron has a terminal that invaginates the muscle fiber while remaining outside the muscle fiber plasma membrane. The action potential arrives at the axon terminal. In the terminal, the action potential causes the release of acetylcholine from the synaptic vesicles into space between the axon terminal and the muscle fiber, called the synaptic cleft. In the synaptic cleft, the acetylcholine binds with a receptor site on the fiber membrane, which opens a chemically gated ion channel. Sodium then rushes through the ion channel into the muscle fiber, causing an action potential to form on the fiber membrane. The action potential spreads along the muscle fiber. As more nerve branches activate additional fibers, the action potential spreads over the entire muscle. Upon activation, the muscle contracts.
So what we're going to have a quick look at here is the stretch reflex. And you can see here we've got the muscle with the tendon at either end. And this is one of the nerve roots that go back into the spine. This is a spinal cord, and this is another nerve root. They call this the dorsal and this the ventral. Basically it's just the channels that go back into the spine. So if we have a look a little bit further on, we'll actually see that we've got these stretch receptors here, and here we've got the sensory afferent neurons. So they're gonna, you can see these stretch receptors here are gonna sense and transfer that signal through to the spine. And there's these synapses or little junctions here, and that's going to cause an automatic response coming out of the motor efferent neurons. So this side is the sensory side. It's going to sense the stretch, and then this is the I'm going to do something about it side. This is the motor side. So let's have a look at actually what happens. Here are the motor endings. So these are actually the little end plates that tell the muscle to do something. So here we go. We detected that stretch, and you can see that action potential is coming back around, and it's going through an interneuron here into the spine through that synapse and coming back out automatically into the motor end plates to tell the muscle to contract. And so it does. So what we've really got there is a situation where when you stretch a muscle, there is an automatic feedback loop to tell that muscle to develop tension, Now, the amount of firing that goes on is related to how quickly that stretch is happening. If you stretch a muscle rapidly, these spindles get stretched very rapidly and they'll fire off really quickly a lot of signals through here. So at the same time, you're getting a lot of contraction. Now that's handy, because what it means is that if something really happens very quickly and stretches the muscle, instantly you've got a contraction to prevent the muscle from being torn, because you don't want to be tearing the tendons. Now, because this is at the spinal level, it is extremely quick, very, very quick. If this had to go all the way up to the brain and we had to analyze it, decide whether we wanted that muscle to contract or not, and then send the signal down through the somatic system, it would take a lot longer, and we'd actually have a lot more muscle damage. So this is actually a protective mechanism, the stretch shortening cycle they call it, which is where there's a stretch detected, comes through straight into the spine, there's a contraction that's signaled at the same time. So it has implications for how we stretch people and how we train people, depending on what sort of conditioning they need and what demands, for instance, they have in their sport, or what rehabilitation they need as well.
Typically, a single motor neuron arising in the brain or spinal cord conducts action potentials that travel to hundreds of skeletal muscle fibers within a muscle. The sequence of events that converts action potentials in a muscle fiber to a contraction is known as excitation-contraction coupling. If we look at a single muscle fiber, we see that an action potential travels across the entire sarcolemma and is rapidly conducted into the interior of the muscle fiber by structures called transverse tubules. Transverse, or T-tubules, are regularly spaced enfoldings of the sarcolemma that branch extensively throughout the muscle fiber. At numerous junctions, the T-tubules make contact with the calcium-storing membranous network known as a sarcoplasmic reticulum, or SR. Where it abuts the T-tubule, the SR forms sac-like bulges called terminal cisternae. One portion of a T-tubule plus two adjacent terminal cisternae is known as a triad. The membranes of the T-tubule and terminal cisternae are linked by a series of proteins that control calcium release. As an action potential travels down the T-tubule, it causes a voltage-sensitive protein to change shape. This shape change opens a calcium release channel in the SR, allowing calcium ions to flood the sarcoplasm. This rapid influx of calcium triggers a contraction of the skeletal muscle fiber. Thus, calcium ions are responsible for the coupling of excitation to the contraction of skeletal muscle fibers.
your reaction paper.
Morning! Ginagawa ko? Yung pala dito, mag-practice yung pagkakas ng mga show. Bakit naman? Ano mo, Demo? Bakit? May laban ka, ha? 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 Ang alis na! Oh! Ikaw na naman, ha? 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 Hindi ka na natuto, ha? Bakit na nang binubuli? Nagpapakita ko sa...
Loko to ah. Ano kayang ginagawa niyo? Paano kaya kung sa'yo rin mangyari ang ginagawa mo?
Michael? Ikaw ba yan? Uy! Ayos ka lang? Ano nangyari sa'yo?
Wala ka, nahulog lang ako.
Gusto mo?
Opo.
Uy, gusto mo pa? Bakit?
Alam mo kung ba't ka nagkakaganito? Dahil marami ka nang nagawang masama at meron kang isang taong na nasaktan. Tignan mo yung paa mo. Mamaya, hindi ka na makakalakad. Kung gusto mo bumalik,